Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you all 12 of the new class mods in Borderlands 4's new DLC, Matt, Ellie, and the Vault of the Damned. Each of the OG Vault Hunters got themselves a new class mod, and Cash got himself an insane one here that you can see lets him spin around doing fire damage like that, and whenever you go into Windfall, your damage is just insane. I honestly think that Cash got some very solid class mods, like the Cracked Gamer here, which lets him apply bleed, and the damage is just insane from that. Or the Hotshot there, which you saw lets you do that fire spinning attack, and it'll always critically hit if you're in Windfall, and the damage is just insane on this. But what's also great with this is it can give you points into some of the far down skills in the red skill tree, so you can kind of max out a lot of your builds this way. And each of Cash's skill trees gets an interesting new class mod, and there's even some that'll make your cooldown rate 0, so you don't actually get your action skill back unless you get stacks of fortune. So he got across the board some interesting ones. I'm going to first start with the original Vault Hunters, and I'll also show you where the locations are for all of these. But for the OG Vault Hunters, you get these from the Nightmare Rifts. And Vexes can actually summon in Nightmare Rifts, but I gotta say, this sucks. It does work a bit better with Trouble, who's, if you're aware, not very great. But the configuration, whenever you activate an action skill or command Trouble, you're going to get a Blood Rift that opens up. There's 2 of these that can be active at any time, and they'll fire remnant minions dealing kinetic gun damage based on our current weapon whenever spawned. There might be some super secret way to make this powerful, but I've tried a lot of different things and it's just not as good. And Vex actually has one of the best class mods in the game with the Teen Witch class mod. Getting lifesteal onto overshield is pretty insane when there's weapons that can drain that for a ton of extra damage. I'm going to show these all off against the same boss here. So whenever we go ahead here, we got to command Trouble so you can use your action skill here. And you see we got this little remnant here that's going to be shooting at enemies, but you can see the damage it does is absolutely abysmal. It is not really worth it. And only having 2 of these kind of sucks when you consider the fact that they just do literally no damage. So you do have to have Trouble out or activate your action skill if you're using another skill tree, but the damage that it provides is just not really that great. So I'm gonna have 2 of these out here, and you can see just against a trash mob like this, it's doing absolutely nothing to it, which is crazy because I can literally just shoot it once and it's dead. And this is an Ultimate Vault Hunter 6, and maybe it's good in Ultimate Vault Hunter 1, but that doesn't really matter. I found this class mod just was pretty lackluster, and they need a buff Trouble too. And I think the biggest crime that this commits, it has some of the worst skill rolls possible. You can get points into Overspirited, which will give you ordnance damage, or action skill will do an explosive remnant, which not really that good. Blasted Fiends, which gives you more ordnance damage, and percentage of Vex's ordnance damage increases minion damage, which is okay. Dead Wire will shoot out every 2 seconds, something that does additional gun damage of shock. And it can also come in rolls of Volatile Essence, which gives you increased splash damage. It's terrible. Now on the other end of the spectrum, Harlowe, the Gravatar, got an insanely powerful one, the Phlebotomist here. So I had to visit one of these many times, but Harlowe's action skill, whenever it's active, dealing gun damage to an enemy, has a chance to cause hemorrhage, dealing kinetic stats effect damage, and based on the damage dealt. Hemorrhage deals twice as much damage to bosses, so you get a nice big chunk of extra damage. It also comes with some incredible skill rolls, and I really like that you can get 5 points into Unstable Isotope, a kill skill that gives you bonus crowd damage with all sources, 35% of your damage dealt as bonus damage, so you end up freezing targets really easily while using this class mod. It can also have rolls into Cyclotron, giving you increased fire rate. It can also give you sustained reaction, which is actually incredible to get. A kill skill when you kill an entangled enemy gives you your action skill duration 5%. If you can get a lot of rolls into that, that is amazing because it's a hard skill to maintain. It's far in the blue skill tree, which is not easy. But most importantly, it gives rolls into Excited State. This increases our critical hit damage, and this is insanely powerful because Harlowe, with her green skill tree that you see here, can get infinite crits. The more damage that we get from those, the better. This is not an optimal roll, but getting most points into that Unstable Isotope I think is amazing, and his submachine gun damage is nice, because there are some very powerful submachine guns, like the new Flash Cyclone that's in the DLC. But you'll see, the damage that we get from this is insane. So activate our action skill, we now get that extra bleed damage that's chipping away his health bar insanely fast. You see the time to kill compared to Vex. And the fact that Harlowe is absolutely ridiculous aside, you can see there we killed it in a second. Harlowe is absolutely insane, especially with this class mod. But yeah, using the Phlebotomist here, you just get such a nice boost to your overall damage, and it's actually a pretty fun one to use because the skill rolls that you can get are incredible. More critical hit damage, bonus cryo damage, it's really good. In fact, I might say this is Harlowe's best class mod from what it seems like. Previously, I was using a few different ones, but this is just so powerful, and it can increase your fire rate too. It's just really good. My name is Millennia Blade of Mikola, and I've never known defeat. Just kidding, this one sucks. But it does have that cool effect where you leave these little waterfall dances around the enemy. Rafa's newest class mod just kind of sucks compared to some of the buffs that he's gotten to his previous ones. you can see here, we're just not doing a whole lot of anything to the boss, even with these extra little windfall damages here. But basically what this class mod is, the Reaparicion, probably pronounced that wrong, very French, but melee damage has a chance to cause blade storms for 5 seconds. Now this is a lie, it's not actually melee damage, because if it was true melee damage, the Mantra shotgun deals melee damage. It does not trigger this, unfortunately. So it's actually melee attacks. Their language on this isn't, I don't think, perfect, because they've used different language before, but anyways, it will deal a bonus kinetic damage based on the damage dealt. Action skill melee damage have a double the chance, and up to 3 blade storms can be active at a time. They only last for 5 seconds, and the damage that they do, like other hazards in this game, just sucks. It can come with rolls into increased damage dealt. It also can come with rolls into the shock market. Whenever Rafa deals splash damage, you get bonus shock damage based on the damage dealt. It's okay. We also get rolls into Herga here, which whenever we critically hit, our action skill duration is restored. This is a decent skill, but you can get it pretty early on. And it also comes with rolls into El Soldado, which is overdrive skill, increasing gun damage while overdrive is active, which is weird because it just doesn't end up being that good. And it can come with rolls in Midnight Oil, which is a good skill, but this one just really does suck. Rafa has much better out there, so yeah, we had 2 bad ones, 1 good one so far. If you're looking for a good Rafa, it's honestly just the Dancer class mod. This thing is so good, especially if you get the Temerario +5 and the Soldado, because this is an overdrive skill. You can get over 700% gun damage when you're in overdrive. So yeah, it says brutal, and it is brutal. Don't use the new one. And I saved the worst of the OGs for last. I'm not sure what Amon did to Gearbox, but they just hate him. This class mod is so unbelievably bad, to the point that I didn't even think it worked. So, dealing gun damage grants Storm for 20 seconds. What does Storm do? Basically nothing. It increases shock damage, stacking up to 50 times. Activating a forge skill causes elemental bolts to strike nearby enemies 10 times, dealing shock skill damage based on maximum shield capacity. It's not good. It's just not good. Even with a maxed out shield, no matter what you do, this thing doesn't really do much. It comes with skill rolls in Thunderous Rage and Strike the Anvil, most notable for sucking really bad. It also gives you Lightning Rod, which is another way to just strike targets with lightning, and Vital Organs, which is a good one. Kill skill giving critical hit chance with guns for a duration, but across the board, this is bad. This is really bad. What's even more insulting is all of Amon's class mods are bad. Like, I'm going crazy here. His purple class mods are his best class mods. Now, that just feels a little insulting when the rest of his skill tree is just so bad. I did post a build for Amon that I was experimenting with and I was planning for a long time here, which uses the Blacksmith class mod. Now, what's funny about this is it spawns Forged Drones. Those are the skills that you get. Forged Drones do melee damage. This build was interesting because we now have the ability to get My Touch is Death. Whenever Amon deals melee damage, there's a chance to activate kill skills. So he can keep There Is Only Red uptime pretty much maxed out because the Forged Drones fly around activating that. So one buff that Amon got is the level cap increase, but every other Vault Hunter became insane, and Amon just became Amon a little bit higher in level. And alright, enough complaining. You're going to see this insane shock damage going off here. It does a little bit of damage to the enemies here, but it's just nothing. Amon, unfortunately, even in the best circumstances, I tried this out a variety of different ways, it just doesn't do a whole lot of anything. Those lightning bolts, when you activate your forge skill, it did 2,000 damage. It did 2,000 or 20,000 damage. 20,000 damage on this boss that has like trillions of health is absolutely nothing. So it's unfortunately just a stinker of a class mod when every other like Vault Hunter has so many more powerful builds. I was expecting something good for Amon here, but really in reality it's just playing with Amon and spamming ordnance and using his heavy ordnance build and relying on that when Harlowe and Cash do the ordnance builds way better. It's kind of insulting how bad Amon is. You can see there, since heavy ordnances do count as gun damage, it can give you a bit of the shock damage, but you're way better off using a purple 10 times out of 10. Sorry for the crash out there. It's just insane how weak Amon is when Cash comes out, and I can do this with my blindfold on. His class mods are so insanely powerful, especially when he goes into Windfall. Cash is really fun. If there's one redeeming thing about this DLC, it's the fact that Cash got some insane class mods, but the 4 OGs, only Harlowe gets a good one, so. And I'll first start off with what I think to be the strongest one, his gamer class mod, or the cracked gamer in this chance. Whenever Cash critically hits an enemy with a gun, bleed that enemy. Great. Whenever Cash kills an enemy with a critical hit, 7% chance to spawn a Chaos Totem, which will shoot at enemies, giving you a bit of extra damage. And while Windfall's active, it becomes a 14% chance. It also gives you skill rolls into Potent Posse, which increases your gun damage as a fortune skill, and this applies to teammates, so if you're playing with friends, amazing. It also gives points into Cursed Bones, which is incredible because whenever Cash deals action skill damage to an enemy, they become jinxed. This makes them deal 30% less damage and take 20% more. You don't even have to take a point into the skill tree to get it from the class mod, which is fantastic. This also gives rolls into Trick Shot, which creates bone shards that does kinetic damage to targets. And what's also amazing about that is it activates War Wagon, giving you ammo back, so you can get infinite ammo really easily. And it also gives rolls into Tender Hearts, giving increased critical hit damage. It's a windfall skill, which gives a chance to critically hit with the action skills. This is insane. It's actually 4 really good skills, and the ability to apply bleed on your enemies is just nuts. And it kills bosses really quickly. Here's one of the new weapons from the DLC that you get from the final boss, and boom, that was 4 presses of the mouse button and the target's dead. And here's the Crazed Earl shotgun, which put us into Windfall nearly immediately. And the cool thing about this is you go in, you melee with this, and then the enemies just are dead at that point. Insane. Yeah, I don't think I need to show that much more. You can see how fast the enemies are melting with this. It's really, really good. It's insulting how bad the other class mods for like Amon are when things like this got released. However, I do think this will get nerfed, so just a heads up if you're watching from the future, this may get nerfed a little bit, but I still think it'll be quite strong, especially because the skill rolls are so good. And you get the Gamer class mod from Nightmare Rift. So yeah, you can also get this from the very first boss that you fight in the DLC before you go back to the Speakeasy, the little Thresher boss. So if you hate hunting the Nightmare Rifts, they're not that bad now, they actually buffed it. You could actually just go back and replay that mission. Next we got the here we go, Hooligan. So whenever Cash deals and it kills an enemy, you gain a stack of Hooligan. Whenever Cash deals grenade damage, consumes all those stacks and deals plus 40% bonus fire damage per stack. If Windfall is active, only consume half of those stacks and you keep them, and you can keep upwards of 25 Hooligan stacks. Now for you math fans out there, 25 stacks at 40%, that's 1000% extra bonus fire damage per second. That's crazy. So this is obviously meant to be more of an ordnance focused build. And I gotta say, he's got some insane ordnance builds too. This also gives you increased ordnance damage by 53%. This one came with damage dealt increased 23%. You can also get ones with a bunch of different skill rolls, like the truck full of nitro, which is insane, giving bonus kinetic damage with ordnance and gear, which you gotta imagine, bonus damage is very good. It also gives you skill rolls into Before She Knows You're Dead, which gives you increased movement speed per bone totems and deals increased skill damage based on how fast you're moving. So this class mod also comes with rolls into Splash the Pod, gaining increased ordnance damage and it's doubled whenever Windfall is active. And Sound of Rain, which is a fortune skill giving Cash a chance to critically hit with guns, action skills, and ordnance. The more fortune stacks, the greater the chance. So some pretty solid rolls here on the Hooligan, but it's really just a heavy focus on ordnance damage. And adding insult to injury, Cash does better ordnance builds than Amon does. So yeah, it's just kind of silly. This is the Heimdall weapon, which was released, and you can get the Heimdall from the final boss of this DLC. They shoot off little heads that shoot at the boss, and yeah, they take all your bonus damage and apply it. So you can see there we got shock, we got fire, we have extra kinetic damage being applied. It's pretty crazy. And here's the Rocket Socket just ripping and tearing through. Yeah, his builds, especially because he can go into Windfall and power up his ordnance even further, is pretty insane in Borderlands 4. So yeah, we're stuck in the wall here. And you can get the Hooligan from Bloom Reaper the Invincible. The next is the Windrider. I want to talk about this one because it has some pretty insane skill rolls. So whenever Cash kills an enemy with a critical hit from a gun, he doubles all fortune stacks. Otherwise, killing an enemy with a gun will drain half your fortune stacks. So you basically want to obviously get critical hits with this. And whenever Cash gains fortune, he restores 5% of his maximum health. Whenever Cash loses fortune, he gains 8% max overshield. This will also increase your total damage dealt. It's an interesting one, and it fits perfectly with how Cash is of like a gambler. It can also give you skills rolls into Dealer's Bluff. Whenever Cash gains a stack of fortune, restore his action skill cooldown by 21%. I honestly see this being pretty powerful if you're liking a green skill tree build, because that's going to give your abilities back quicker. It can give you rolls into Gloam to Glow though. This is one of the craziest skills that Cash has. A portion of all damage from Cash dealt to enemies is converted to overshield. So whenever you take damage, you get basically a percentage of that as overshield. So with this roll of 8, we got +3 from the class mod, 32% of damage taken is turned to overshield. And then whenever we lose a fortune stack, shots from our guns will deal bonus damage equal to our overshield, 160% of our overshield. This becomes pretty insane if you got a very large overshield. It can also give us rolls into Dusty Trail here, which is going to give you, whenever as Cash slides, he loses fortune stacks, and every stack he loses, you get a bunch of different buffs from it. And you can also get rolls into a Blur of Fingers and Brass. Whenever Cash gains a stack of fortune, he gains increased reload speed and fire rate with guns and action skills. This is a tough one because you basically want to try and ensure that you get a critical hit to take out an enemy because that's just going to give you your buffs there. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to lose your fortune stacks. This can be interesting because he does have a few different setups that vary depending on if you get or lose fortune. So there's multiple builds that could actually benefit from this, but I don't think it's one of his stronger ones. It's a fun one because you can watch your windfall go up or you can watch your fortune stacks go up and down, but I just find it to be not that great. Outside of the skill rolls that you do get from this, so from gloam to glow being one of the best options, and also the fact that you can get your action skill back with this too is pretty nice with the dealer's bluff. And you can get the Windrider from Guardian Radix. So yeah, if you want to go farm that one out. Next I want to talk about the whale. This one's kind of funny. So Cash's action skill cooldown rate becomes 0. So basically, you're not getting your action skill back at all. It's going to stay frozen. And all action skill cooldown rate bonuses are converted to action skill damage. That's pretty interesting because if you get a nice boost to it, you can then turn that into more damage. And whenever he gains a stack of fortune, he restores 10% of the action skill cooldown. And then also gains a plus 20% fire rate and reload speed for 10 seconds. So basically you want to try and get your fortune up as quickly as possible to get your action skill back. It's kind of cool how this one works out. It also gives rolls into your reload speed. You also get this one from Reaparicion Callus. So you can see here I have 36 seconds left on my cooldown for my action skill, and I'm not getting it back. But yeah, if you go ahead and are able to get some of your fortune stacks back, the funny thing is, if you go into Windfall, you're not getting fortune stacks, so you're basically locked out of it. And that's the time where some of these you actually want to use them. So it can be a little bit confusing how to use this, but yeah, you basically want to get not in your Windfall, and certain builds will complement this a little bit better because going into Windfall again, you're not getting your action skill back that way. Probably one of the worst ones, but it's an interesting one. I think this would be better leveling versus at the end game. It does give rolls into payout, increasing your fortune skill bonuses. It'll also give points into the Unshaken, increasing damage from all sources based on your fortune stacks. And it also gives us some rolls into Turns of Fate. When Windfall is active, we get Lifesteal, which goes into Overshield, which is really nice. And also High Stakes. When Windfall is active, Cash gains increased fiery reload speed and movement speed. Next is the Hotshot. Now, I really like this one, and you get this from Lictor. However, this one is super useful because Crossfire, oddly enough, for an action skill, does an insane amount of damage. But this basically makes it so our burst fire is getting a beam spin, so you just shoot around a fire in an area of effect, and if Windfall is active, it's always going to be a critical hit. This also gives you 40% extra critical hit damage when it's at level 60, which is crazy. And it can come with a variety of different rolls. Most notably, you can get some very deep rolls, like the Bloodstained Moon, which is it's a capstone skill with a 1 point. Whenever Cash critically hits an enemy, he gains increased elemental damage, effect chance, and elemental damage. And it's a fortune skill. Whenever Cash kills an enemy with a critical hit, lob a fire mortar at nearby enemies. The more fortune stacks, the greater the damage. So this can actually give you some pretty solid damage, and it also has upwards of 25 stacks. So this can give you upwards of 125% extra gun damage or elemental effect damage, and it also can give you upwards up to 100% elemental damage. Pretty insane from a class mod, but this also gives rolls into Hot Hand, giving you bonus fire damage. It gives you rolls into Unleashed, increasing your fire rate, and it can also give some rolls into Tender Hearts, increasing your critical hit damage. This one's really good because, again, we're all about crits when we're using this. Fun fact, you can get stuck on top of this vending machine by climbing it somehow. So here's Cash's action skill here. Now the thing is, the damage is pretty mid until we activate our Windfall here. So this is our skill here, the little fire spin. The damage from it isn't crazy, but now we're in our Windfall, and you can see the damage is just destroying this boss really quickly. So you basically need to get it into your Windfall there. The fire spin's more so for if you're mobbing, and I gotta say, the damage it does from mobbing is insane. So you're gonna actually be taking out targets really quickly. But this action skill, despite it not having to aim, is actually really strong when you get that overdrive, or whenever you get the Windfall effect there. The damage scale is insanely high. I like the skill rolls on this. It's good if you want to use the Crossfire skill, which is not like a super amazing if you're doing like Ultimate Vault Hunter 6 True Mode, but it's still strong enough, as you saw there, to just destroy bosses in Ultimate Vault Hunter 6. And again, this one is from Lictor. Next is the Ludopath here. So whenever Cash rolls his bone dice, he gains Ludopath stacks equal to the roll. Cash gains plus 3% fire rate and movement speed for each Ludopath stack. Cash has a maximum of 36 stacks, and each stack lasts for 12 seconds. So yeah, you get moving quick with that. 36 stacks is pretty insane. This also comes with rolls into Ready to Roll, Windfall skill, which is whenever active, giving increased cooldown rate and action skill duration. It also can give some rolls into Anti-Up, gaining increased gun damage and skill damage, the more full our gun magazine and the more fortune stacks that we have. It also gives rolls into High Roller, giving increased gun damage, the more action skill cooldown we have, the greater the bonus. And it can give rolls into Luck Be a Robot, increasing your action skill cooldown rate. So basically with this, you're going to roll the dice and hopefully you get some nice numbers there. We got an 8, And we got a 11. Oh, we're moving. We're moving. Yeah, we're moving pretty quick. We got 23 stacks of that. Pretty solid. It all comes down to luck. And you can see there, it's pretty crazy. His green skill tree is really fun and it's powerful. So using something like this can be really nice for that extra movement speed. And also that fire rate, because you can shoot very quickly. And if you got a build that's got infinite ammo, you just chew through it. It can also give you it's basically all focused around your action skill cooldown rate coming back so that you can get your bone dice quicker. This may actually be one of the better ones for Cash, as his green skill tree is very good when mixed with the red. And you can get the Ludopath from Inceptus, the boss fight there. Now we have one for his blue skill tree here with the Rounder. Sleight of Hand gains reduced charges. Whenever Cash kills an enemy with a card, he gains 2 charges and resets his action skill duration. Pretty cool. It also gives you a fat 60 or 70% action skill damage increase, and it can come with some pretty solid rolls in the blue skill tree, which is nice. So you got the Sounds of Rain, giving you a chance to critically hit with guns, action skills, and ordnance. Double Down, which gives you a chance to do double ordnance damage, and it gives you Hot Streak. Whenever Cash gains a stack of fortune, the next time he damages an enemy with a gun or an action skill, it automatically critically hits, and it'll deal increased critical hit damage. Interesting, actually, because you can get this pretty easily and actually max at fortune. It can also give you skill rolls into Tender Hearts, increasing your critical hit damage as well, which is really nice, but that action skill damage increase is great. So I've already posted a build for Cash's Sleight of Hand. You can see that in the comments there. Basically, whenever you're throwing the cards, yeah, we ran out of that really quickly. You get a variety of different effects depending on them, and that is really solid if you're going to use that blue skill tree there. But this is kind of tough because you're incentivized to take out targets while using this because you get less charges while using it. So you basically want to have that and max it out to get the right cards to make sure that you're able to actually keep up your action skill here, but it's definitely an interesting one. I just don't think it's one of his stronger ones. And you also get this from the Idolator Soul boss fight. And finally, we got the Cooler here. So whenever Cash deals ordnance damage to an enemy, that enemy becomes jinxed. And whenever Cash kills a jinxed enemy, he gains 20% cooldown rate for his ordnance for 12 seconds. And this can stack up to 10 times. Pretty interesting, but he already has heavy ordnance infinitely. So yeah, this is like an ordnance damage focused one, but we actually can jinx enemies easily with if we take one of his other skill trees or even other class mods here that gives the rolls into the Accursed Bones here, which whenever you do the action skill damage, which comes from our green skill tree, comes from all really easily. This would jinx enemies. Basically, jinx enemies again will do 20%, or they'll take 20% more damage and deal 30% less damage. So yeah, this one's okay, but he has much better rolls on other class mods. But this one comes with increased critical hit damage against jinxed enemies, and the bonus is increased against jinxed enemies. The Torment is pretty solid there. It gives points into Splash the Pod, increasing ordnance damage and doubled whenever Windfall is active, and the Double Down give you more ordnance. But honestly, across the board, we have better ordnance builds from the Hooligan class mod, which gives you that huge bonus to the fire damage there. So yeah, well, this gives you the ordnance cooldown rate increase. This one here gives you like so much more with ordnance damage, and I even got damage dealt on that one. This was a really good roll. This one's from Bloom Reaper, so I think that's why it's better. And to get the cooler, you get that from Vault Guardian Origo here. And here's what that can look like. So we got our heavy ordnance here. And yeah, whenever you go into Windfall with a heavy ordnance, you're just deleting everything. So yeah, heavy ordnance builds on Cash are very good. So I will be doing a future video where I rank all of these because I've done them for the other Vault Hunters, giving them a top 5 for all their class mods. But I gotta say, the best class mod, in my opinion, is the Gamer class mod. This thing is just insanely powerful, giving it bleed, but also giving us that extra Chaos Totem. Even if it gave just the Chaos Totem and the skill rolls that it gave, it'd probably still be the best. Giving us increased fire rate is also very nice when there's a lot of skills that he has that give you more damage based on your fire rate. So Harlowe also got a really good class mod, but across the board, some of them are not that great. But let me know your thoughts on the class mods in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed this video, and we'll catch you guys all in the next one.